Welcome viewers, welcome to bharatshakti.in. We have the DefExpo 2020 starting on the 5th of February and we intend doing a lot of coverage of the DefExpo. We'll of course be there at ground zero and get you the news from Lucknow. But as a prelude to that coverage, we will be hosting a couple of interviews with the top leadership of top companies globally in the defense and aerospace sector. I have with me today Mr. William Blair. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And giving us the time.
My pleasure.
He is the Vice President and also the Chief Executive of Lockheed Martin India. Let's get the story of Lockheed Martin right from the horse's mouth. William, welcome.
Thank you.
Before we start really,
Yes, please.
can you give us a little bit about Lockheed Martin in India and about your Indian experience? I believe this is your second tenure over here and there are more interesting things I'm sure you'll reveal
Right.
about
No,
your
thank you.
association with India.
Well, I've been coming to India since 1996, and I've actually spent 7 of the last 15 years in India across a couple of different companies. Previously in the commercial defense and aerospace sector. I'm coming back now to India after 7 years, joining Lockheed Martin to lead India, the team in India, and we see tremendous opportunities. What brought me to India the first time, though, I must say, was my wife that I met in the U.S. She's from Rajasthan, from Jaipur, and so that keeps bringing us back. So 7 of the last 15 years, we've had our entire family here. And now we're coming back, and we're very pleased to be so. Lockheed Martin, we've got tremendous potential, but I must say, building on a very strong foundation. We've been here for over 40 years. We have established JVs with Tata, both in the aerostructures and on the helicopter Sikorsky side, that are celebrating their 10th anniversary this year. So we couldn't be better positioned for now the Make in India initiative, the strategic partnerships, and frankly, when we hear Make in India, we often think we're making in India, and we look forward to the next chapter.
William, thank you. I think your wife, being from Rajasthan, will see you a lot more during this tenure over here. I don't think she'll let you go at all.
You're right.
Okay, if I could get to the big issue
Yeah.
for the day, really,
Absolutely.
a big issue for you, big issue for the Indians also. The F-21 being offered for the 110 aircrafts that the Indian Air Force wants to buy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is the differentiator? You really pitted against some of the best aircrafts in the world.
Right.
Most of them are European or otherwise. But the fact is, what do you think is your really winning point as far as F-21s are concerned?
No, thank you for that. You know, the F-21 delivers an advanced, scalable, single-engine, multi-role fighter at the most optimal life cycle cost for the Indian Air Force. And it can deliver the longest service life, 12,000 flight hours. And simply put, the F-21 will go farther, faster, and stay longer than the competition. But it's not just about the aircraft's capability. It also builds on what we spoke previously about our long history, now over a decade-long partnership on both aerostructures and very high-tech, state-of-the-art components coming together to both for fighter aircraft, transport aircraft, and helicopters, and developing an ecosystem that is uniquely suited and a foundation for our Make in India initiative. Now, beyond that, think about F-21 as a capability, not just to deliver for India and a requirement here, but for a global requirement. And so the F-21 is part of the world's largest, most successful fighter aircraft ecosystem in the world, valued at over $165 billion. And so with that, not only are we going to deliver the best capability, but do that in collaboration with Indian industry across from the large sector, MSMEs, and in fact, we're even putting work in startups that, frankly, we believe is so critical to develop that defense and aerospace infrastructure. Because when you think about an aircraft you're taking delivery of, you want to be strategic and put capability on target. But you also want to be able to support that system, and you want to support that locally with spare parts, logistics, and our intent is we can take advantage and tap into the ecosystem that's been developed from the largest to the smallest companies in India.
Right, William, I think you are a very strong candidate, and we wish you all the luck, really. Let's get on to the other issue that we have really today for you. Now, let's talk about C-130s. You know, the Indian Air Force has a fairly large fleet of C-130s, which you people have produced for them. And you're also in collaboration with the Tatas for the empennage being, let's say, manufactured over here.
Correct.
How's the experience been working with an Indian partner, and how do you see it going forward, really?
I must say, I mean, our experience working with the Indian partner that we have with Tata has been outstanding. And it's important to understand, you know, how that came together, I think. It dates back over 10 years. And so we, as a company, saw opportunity to find a partner, develop a foundation where we can deliver C-130J empennages as well as Sikorsky helicopter components. And it's important to understand we did that out of opportunity. You hear a lot about offsets. We see offsets as obligations, of course, and opportunities, but we actually moved forward with this joint venture because the business case made sense. There were a lot of advantages of putting the empennage work in India. What that allows us to do is take advantage of the trained workforce, capabilities, quality, reliability, and yes, too, a cost advantage to be able to deliver empennages for the C-130Js globally. So not just to the Indian requirement, which is significant, but also it's frankly part of our global supply chain. Our C-130J team is wholly dependent on every empennage that's delivered out of India because it's on every C-130J that we deliver globally. And you know, I mentioned that the C-130J, the work that's being worked in, we call it TLML, Tata Lockheed Martin Aerostructures Limited, based in Hyderabad, is delivering the empennages for 100% of the requirements for the global requirements of the C-130J. But with that, I want to say we're very proud to have delivered our 12th aircraft late last year to the Indian Air Force, and we're honored to continue to support the Indian Air Force's tactical airlift mission that's proven to be incredibly important, and I would say C-130J has been incredibly effective to meet that mission.
I'm sure the C-130s have proven to be a huge, I would say, advantage in terms of tactical lift capability of the Indian Air Force and the armed forces, I would say, as a whole. I'm sure the serviceability state also must be very high. But let's go a little further. Let's talk about helicopters for the Navy, MH60 that we're thinking about. What are the systems that you'll have on board, and how is this equipment really like? If you could just explain.
Yes, please. Actually, I think the key point is multi-role. So just as we talked about the C-130J, it's a multi-role platform, and so is the MH60 Romeo. It is clearly the most advanced anti-submarine warfare platform from a helicopter perspective that's available. We're very pleased to support both the Indian government and the U.S. government because this is part of a foreign military sale that we support directly into the U.S. government and the program offices, that capability. We're excited for that capability to, when the decision is complete, to be inducted into the Indian Navy. You asked, you know, what are some of the capabilities that we have with that? I mentioned the ASW mission. It includes 1.5 times the mission endurance time, larger search areas, and greater threat detection capabilities than its peers in the marketplace. Its unmatched multi-mission capabilities include special operations, search and rescue, utility vertical replenishment, and command and control. With this, and based on a very long and strongly positive history in service with the U.S. and multiple countries, it's delivered higher availability rates, ease of maintenance, and extremely less expensive operating costs. The MH60 Romeo brings advanced and immediate advantages to the Indian Navy, and building on the foundation and I will say the strength of multiple nations, both U.S. and in the region, that operate that same platform. The Indian Navy then will benefit from the ongoing support provided for more than 300 MH60 Romeos in operation and around the world today. And that's in reliability and cost efficiency by being part of that global ecosystem, as well as what we're producing in country through our Lockheed Martin Tata joint venture on the Sikorsky Tata joint venture for helicopter components.
Well, that's a lot of multi-role capability, really. That's, I think, almost full spectrum capability that your helicopter has. Again, all the best. Let's get on to another area, and this is, you have that foundation, India Support Growth Fund, or something like that, which has been contributing to R&D, things like that. What are your plans really now for startups, for R&D establishments? What are you likely to do in India?
No, thank you for that question, because Lockheed Martin had a vision back in 2007 in working together with the Defense Science and Technology Organization, with Tata Trusts, a tripart arrangement dating back to 2007. It's called the India Innovation Growth Program, which we say for short IIGP. And it was created as a catalyst, if you will, to develop the Indian innovation ecosystem. Obviously, we have an interest in the defense and aerospace sector, but it's much broader than that. And so we've seen that as an opportunity for us to work together on a public-private partnership very successfully to incubate startups, work with university programs and research partnerships to start to really grow the technology and innovation infrastructure that is very much here in India. And we've seen a lot of successes with that over the last 13 years, and effectively incubating startups that are being recognized and being funded through venture capital and really growing as companies. So IIGP, as we call it, actually ties in very well with the initiatives with the government of India, Startup India, and Make in India. And so what we call IIGP 2.0 is engaging entrepreneurs, universities, on the stages of ideation we call it, innovation, which really, think of it as an incubator for startups that are going to be part of a much larger and growing, from our perspective, defense and aerospace infrastructure ecosystem, but much broader than that across the startups that are, I would say, growing by leaps and bounds in India. So as part of this IIGP program, we're building an innovation pipeline. I mentioned we're incubating startup companies, but we're also offering training and mentoring to support entrepreneurs to get them that early start. We're through other programs, through our defense offsets, we're finding opportunities where some of these startup companies are really very capable and key suppliers that we can then fund and invest in so that they can become part of our Lockheed Martin supply chain, which I think is so important as a startup is getting underway, is to be able to make their business case successful, is built on a sustainable production capacity. They're bringing unique talent, innovation, ideas, and bringing it at such a critical time, but they're translating that into a real business proposition. In addition, we're also working with university challenge partnerships. And so very much like the model in the US, it's very much true here in India, world-class universities working together with world-class companies. And so you see initiatives where universities are coming together, working with entrepreneurs and helping incubate those startups. And so we are part of a nationwide university challenge in partnership with IIT Bombay to do that. And this is something you can see how we can broaden that in partnership again with, as I said earlier, the Department of Science and Technology and also the Tata Trusts to, through small investment, but I think big impact, to propagate that much broader in India. So I think the other important thing to recognize with the IIGP program is broader than that, because what we've been doing is we've been hosting supplier conferences here in India over the last few years, and we're bringing in the large tier companies, we're bringing in the MSEs, as well as the startups, and we're matching them up with companies from the US that are already part of our supply chain, and finding ways to put more synergy together in terms of how we're delivering capability and partnering and mentoring with companies here in India. It ties in well with the MOD startup program that they just launched in 2018 called IDEX. IIGP has partnered with IDEX in 2019 for its startup conference, where we invited over 40 IDEX nominated startups to participate in the supplier conference. And then I'll close with the few successes and milestones that we've had with this. The MOD released a list of 25 promising aerospace and defense startups during Aero India of 2019. And of note, 9 out of the 25 were actually incubated through the IIGP program.
Well, I think with IIGP, IDEX, and also, let's say, the Tatas coming in together and giving a lot of support. And like you said, that you make an idea actually into a business case, and then a couple of them have been very successful, those 9 of them that you're talking about. I think it's a great thing that you're doing over here. Let's go a little further. Other than the systems that we've talked about, the platforms that we've talked about, are there any major other platforms that you have on offer for the Indian Armed Forces as on date, really?
Yeah, absolutely. We touched on the F-21 as part of the strategic partner program in meeting a emerging fighter requirement. We've talked about the MH60 Romeo. In addition to that, S-92 helicopter is an incredibly efficient and effective platform, both in the civil VVIP and international military capability requirement. We have additional follow-on potential for C-130Js to further take advantage of the multi-mission capability that can be utilized by the Indian Air Force. Over a period of time, the Javelin anti-tank guided missile has been offered previously, and again under an FMS supporting through our Javelin joint venture, offering that for the Indian Army requirement. And other unique capabilities, and I'll just bring up one that's interesting. We actually have an energy storage capability that we've developed, very unique technology tying into a Indian supplier actually that can be very much a part of a solution that would be part of the renewable side. So whether it's wind, solar, or other say grid requirements, it's a unique technology that addresses one of the biggest challenges is how do you store energy if you're generating that through wind or solar power. And it provides capability not just from a commercial and civil perspective, but can provide some strategic capability to remote locations, whether that's in a civil or a defense requirement.
Well, especially energy storage capability that you're talking about, we have a lot of the Army really deployed on remote posts, and if there's something like that available, and if it's cost effective and found quite okay by the Indian Armed Forces, I'm sure it will be a big help to the armed forces as such. To go a little further, what are your future plans really in India? Other than these 2 platforms that we've talked about in detail, let's say something that you've put across right away. Any other plans that you have, future plans in India?
Well, I think it's to extend on, I think, the success we found jointly through our joint ventures over the last 10 years. And so under the Make in India initiative, because it ties into the requirements that are coming up, it really, I think we see the opportunity in what we call for India, from India. And so as we've really proven the capability both in the aerostructures side for transport aircraft, extending that into fighter aircraft with the Tata Lockheed Martin Aerostructures JV, as well as what we've worked with Tata and Sikorsky on the helicopter components. And it's a great example of incubation, if you will, and growing an idea into a tremendous opportunity. Those joint ventures that were created for very specific requirements in both the aircraft and the helicopter domains, but they, as a result, have grown even further as companies like GE, for instance, and others are putting work into the Tata Sikorsky TSAL, as we call it, Tata Sikorsky Aircraft Limited JV, where there's very unique capabilities that we're investing in from a process capability, state-of-the-art machining. We're putting composites work actually a one-of-a-kind facility in our aerostructures plant in Hyderabad that does metal-to-metal bonding and also composite structures that I think can find new applications looking farther out into the future. And so, in a way, to sum it up, we're going to continue to invest in really from a research and development and extension of our production capabilities, and find other partners, frankly, as the requirements come up across India from all sizes, whether it's the large companies, the MSMEs, and the startups that we talked about earlier. I think that's really a catalyst, not just for our ability to participate in the growth and meeting the mission requirements from an Indian perspective, from the MOD and all the services, but also meeting a much greater global requirement, because we really think that the pie is getting bigger, if you will, of what we can deliver in terms of meeting the global requirements from an aerospace and defense perspective.
What do we really expect from you when we visit your stall in DefExpo? What are you going to have laid out over there? Or what else? What are you going to display?
No, thank you for asking that. We're excited to be part of DefExpo 2020 in Lucknow, UP. It's a really big deal for us because we spend a lot of time preparing to make sure that we can present our best capabilities, we can engage the leadership from across the MOD and the services, and also engage with Indian companies, large MSMEs of all sizes. We're going to be showcasing the F-21, C-130J. We're going to be also showcasing Javelin and the S-92 helicopter. So across a range of platforms that we have that presents unique capabilities. We'll have over 40 of our leaders from Lockheed Martin attending DefExpo. Many of them very, very familiar, coming to India for many years. And I think if you come to our stall, you'll be able to engage with our leaders. You'll be able to see the capabilities we're delivering already today in India. We're producing today in India, but also projecting forward what we could deliver to meet the most challenging and stressing requirements from a defense perspective in India.
Right. I think all of us will look forward to visiting you in your stall. For the day, thank you so much for giving us the time.
Oh, thank you, sir.
It's been nice interacting with you.
No, thank you for the opportunity.